Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to building of BoB1. This guitar is insane and I'm insane. I've lost it. This is being based on the work of the fantastic furniture maker Seth Rowland. His bandsaw sliced creations are insanely amazing, and the second I saw one I thought I have to do that in a guitar, and well, here we are. Now, we've been having some problems. The material I chose in the end is a little bit more splitty than I'd hoped, and the test for the headstock failed utterly. And in this video, I'm going to be finalizing the headstock. I'm actually going to be doing the headstock, and I'm going to be carving what I can access of the neck. And that should be good. But what I'm not going to do is cheat. What I said in one of the recent videos was that I was just going to make a slice and then cut away the shape that you would get if I had actually bent some pieces. That would be weak, and I am not a chicken. So I'm going to do something else, and it's going to be fun. Remember, you can win this guitar if you're watching this as we put it live in, what month are we in? November 2018. I don't know what time it is, let alone time of year. This guitar could be yours. Check out the descriptions below. Go to crimsonguitars.com. Anything that you purchase from our site, from Luthier's tools through to a Luthier experience coming down into our actual school and spending a week or 2 or even 3 months learning how to build guitars with Master Luthier Christopher, down to a single fret polishing rubber. Every single one of those purchases will enter you into a competition to win this guitar, and every single £10 within each order is another entry. And I love doing this because it means I get to give away a guitar essentially, and it's cool. Onto the headstock. The test, which is currently in the bin. Okay, this failed a little bit. So wetting it and bending it didn't give me the level of bends that I wanted. That doesn't matter at all because, well, I can still do some sort of bending without cracking it, I hope. Okay, first things first. I have some of the tuners that we use on our production guitars, or at least production descendant. And I just need to make sure that whatever happens, I do not cut into this bit. Okay, and that's all good. I'm using my finger here as a depth stop. Flip the guitar over and get the same depth there. What I'm going to do, well, is simple, really. I'm just going to make a bunch of slices at that angle then. Nice and easy. We might as well make them accurate though. 5mm intervals. And with the saw curve, that's going to mean I end up with probably 4mm, 3.5mm. I need a pen. Okay, now I suspect that would just snap straight off. So instead of snapping it straight off, let's just cut it straight off. That's the plan. Onto the bandsaw. This is absolutely the point of no return. And I love it. I'm getting too excited. I've left the camera at an angle. I'm getting far too excited. I have missed a step. Okay, I'm making cuts now. And one thing you might have noticed, I'm actually cutting to the right-hand side of the line rather than on the line. I've decided to give myself just a fraction more space than my drawing. But also, I'm about to carve the neck, and it's going to be much, much easier to finalize the depth of the headstock and the shape of the volute and all that jazz before I make the rest of these cuts. So that's what we're going to do. Sorry to sort of, you know, tease you like that. We have a neck to carve. If you've watched any of my videos, and you should have by this point because they're like over 1,000 of them, I've done a lot of how to carve a neck tutorials, and what I do is I grab an angle grinder or a spoke shave and I go, and by feel and touch and with some calipers to set the depth, that's how I do it. This is not how Christopher teaches how to do it in the school downstairs, because for your first neck, and your second and your 10th and your 40th, it's probably a good idea to be a little bit more scientific about this. Because if you make it too thin, for example, or too asymmetrical in a way in which you hadn't planned, then you're kind of scuppered. So what we are going to do is Christopher's method, because it rules. Okay, now essentially what it involves is faceting the neck out as you go. You start off by thicknessing it or depthing it. You want to thickness the blank to the correct thickness, and then from there we will draw facets on and carve those facets, and you end up with whatever you want, depending on the facets you draw. So first of all, we go and hunt for my vernier calipers, which can't hear me, so I don't know why I'm talking quietly. Honestly, they should be in that drawer. I don't really know. Aha! Of course. At the lathe where we left them the other day when we were using them while we were turning part of this guitar, of course. All right, so I will use these. And when we were cutting the neck blank out, we left a lot of material. Okay, I have, yeah, 29 mil thick neck blank, which is bigger than we need. Okay, now, what am I gonna do? We've already slightly carved the body. What we're gonna do is get another vise on my bench. Okay. Now I want to get this done as fast as possible because I want to get back to that headstock. Okay, now how you choose to thickness the neck is, well, it's entirely up to you. First of all, I'm going to draw the volute on. It's my pen gun. The line is where your nut is, and that's that. And then in this area here, we want to bring it down to thickness, then at the other end, and then join the two. I tend to use just about the best tool in the entire world, which is the Shinto saw rasp, because it's amazing. At the first fret, I want to end up at, well, at this stage, let's go for a slightly thicker neck, 22, let's say 22. There is another way that you can do it, and that is the same method that we used with the lathe. Set your calipers to 22, lock them off, and either grab yourself a pair of, well, actually, those would do quite nicely. So these are now, that is 25. That's the thickness. Well, 25? I lied, sorry. Doesn't look like 25, does it? It's 22. And then when I can get this through the center of the neck, lurid thickness. Pretty close. Okay, so this is a little bit thick. Yeah, so that's roughly 22. I want to make the neck go up to about a 20, well, say a 2 mil increment, 22 to 24. I am, once this is at the right dimension, going to take the whole thing down a mil or two. But I want to gently approach the final thickness rather than blindly attack it. We're done. So I didn't go straight down at the edge of the volute because obviously that's not going to be straight down. It's going to be slightly curved into the into where the gap is between the fret and the nut. There must be a term for that. I now have a lump in the middle of the neck that I need to get rid of. I could either use the Japanese saw rasp or a spoke shave, or, well, there's several ways. But I am just going to use the saw rasp because I have it out. I don't think that is straight. My straight edge is a little bit too long for that. So leveling beam, we do them in various lengths. No, my leveling beam's too long. Short leveling beams, there we go. Okay, now these are perfectly straight. And you can see using that, there's a bit of a rock. I got more work to do. Okay, we're good. Now, the next stage is to mark a center line. Slightly more of an issue because we only routed part way down the neck, but yeah, it's not too much. So we start with the center line, and then you need to mark halfway between that center line and the edge. So let's find an easy thing to divide. Come on. And then flip the instrument over, and you want halfway down the neck. So what we're going to do is remove that half. Alright, so you've got a facet there. We'll do that on both sides. And then the next thing is, same again, we'll halve that, and then facet that. And go 2 mil on either side of that and facet that. This is easier. Now just to make it relatively straightforward, I'm going to do this small section first and then show you. Oh, hold on. Poop. Can you tell I don't use this method? Bit of that line. So there we have the start of our final shape. And the same thing, you mark a line halfway there and there, halfway there and there. And then you remove that material. And then also on either side of that line, just a couple of mil, removing a very small facet there. And you end up with a lovely shaped neck. I am going to do the rest of this facet. Alright, so I'm going to start by carving to this outer line, and then I'll bring the whole shape back to this one here. That gives me a round, and then I smooth it off. So next up, we want to bifurcate those two spaces and this one. So we're now removing that center bit. And as you can see, straight away, we're ending up with something a lot more rounded and, well, attractive looking. Clamping it to a bench is also an option. So. So that is, well, nice and curvy. Obviously the final sanding is going to get rid of any ridges in there, but now I need to go and sort that horribleness out. That's the noise of this one cut that we made. It's a horrible noise. Let's wedge a ruler in there. We're done. We're done. Okay. Exciting times, because that means. Okay, first of all, actually, there's a really easy way of getting a final neck shape that's easy. This is a perfect example of the fact that just because you've done something one way for your entire life doesn't mean that it is the only way or necessarily the best way. I basically guess at what I'm doing with neck shaping. I use the caliper to get the depth, but the shape I just do because I'm good at seeing shapes in my head and creating them. This is a very, very, very systematic and basic way of doing it that generates consistent results. It's really good, actually. I've just noticed that after saying I'm very good at making shapes, I've made a pretty ugly shape over here, so excuse me for a second. All right, to the bandsaw. Okay. I can't not drop things. Yeah, I'm having so much fun right now. Okay, the top face of that is not. But what we have here I'm really happy with this. I was going to do some bending here and then cut a cool curvy shape into it. But I think I'm changing my mind. I don't do that a lot, do I? What do you think? There's no room for a logo. I have to do something about that. Okay, at this stage, the entire instrument comes together because the decision I've made for the headstock 100% affects how I'm going to make the body. And okay, from the beginning, from the very beginning of this, I wanted to avoid using wedges. I have got 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 different methods for holding this all together and solidifying the structure that don't involve using wedges, because wedges are ugly. And because the conceit behind this build is the instrument is made out of one piece of wood, apart from the fretboard. It actually took Tom Webster, Director of Operations at Crimson Guitars, he's in charge of operations, pretty much everything. And he said, well, you know, you could do wedges and you could make them attractive. And that hadn't occurred to me. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to very gently wedge open these things using flame maple wedges, because why not? But for now, this is it. I have got to figure out how to sand in between each of these slots, and I suspect it involves sandpaper and scrapers. Surely, I think that's the only real actual option. If there are any other options, let me know in the comments below. The wedges are going to be flame maple and gorgeous, so there we go. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and subscribe. A huge number of people who watch our videos are not subscribed, and I don't understand that. But it's the metric by which I live my life. In the next video, well, you might have wondered why I have not fretted this instrument yet. And that is because we're making this relatively rapidly, and I want to make sure that the neck does not move. This is the last thing I'm going to do for a number of days now, and we'll then check and see if it has moved in any way. I can plane or reshape the fretboard a little bit to ameliorate the problem. But we have an instrument, and I'm really excited. In the next video, I will be doing inlays, side dots, frets. I have notes. Well, there we go. That's what my notes say. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. I couldn't have chosen a more chippy and cracky and break-outy wood if I had tried. 100%.